Hey guys, what's up? My name's Thomas Robb, and today I'm going to be taking you through the process of creating this Star Wars Shore Trooper. Now, ever since I saw them from Rogue One, I have been in love with them, and the helmet design, everything about them. I am generally not an Empire fan, but I do like the armor on these guys, and I just knew I had to make it in Blender. So obviously the first step was to go find reference images, which turned out to be surprisingly hard, but I did find a lot, and I also found some topology references for somebody else that had modeled it in, I believe, 3ds Max. So I had a lot of reference afterwards, even though it was challenging to work off of, but you'll see me several times switching back and forth and finding out that the reference doesn't match. And this is very, very true. Most of these reference images do not match in the details or in the subtle changes of the angles. So I had to make an approximation based upon those. So I hope that everybody enjoyed this as a result. And obviously I recorded myself during the whole thing, but that is way too much material to be posting on YouTube. I will be saying certain things throughout the movie, talking about what I'm doing. I will go over some of the things, the problems I had while I was making the topology and the fixes that I found while I was doing it, because that's always helpful. I believe that that is one of the main reasons to watch time lapses, is to figure out how the person got around certain topology issues. So, without further ado, I will shut up now. So as I butt in here to start talking, since everybody wants to hear me talk, you'll see me here coming up really struggling with these slots in the side of the helmet. I was really struggling getting the smoothness with the subdivision surface modifier to not warp, and anybody that's used a subdivision surface modifier on a hard surface model will know what I'm talking about with the weird warping that comes with insetting and extruding. So I was really struggling with that and trying to get it figured out. Eventually, I ended up making a kind of a in-between of the two. And you'll see me, I referenced a really great model by Chris Kuhn on Blendswap.com, his A10 model, where he had some very unique insets in his side panels, and didn't have any distortion. So I went over and I looked at how he did it, and I highly encourage you to do that. That is a main reason I'm on BlendSwap, is so you can go look at other people's models and see where they've been successful and learn from that. So that's what I ended up doing with this, and you'll see here I also struggled with these corners because you really want good mesh flow. You really want good mesh flow, especially when you start adding edge loops to make sharp edges. So I struggled with that, but I finally did get it done. And I also ended up struggling with a different part of the helmet. We'll be coming up with it here soon. But yeah, that was one of the biggest issues I had with this whole project, was getting those insets to look right with the subdivision surface modifier. So again, here you will see me struggling with this. This time I had a little bit more experience under my belt. This is obviously not the first model I've made with subdivision modifiers, but this is definitely the first time I have had to have these type of indents into a hard surface. And this is not just into any hard surface either. This is into compound curved hard surfaces, which are hard in of themselves. Eventually here you'll see me working on this center piece here for the nose, and you'll see I end up deleting some geometry and working on it again. And that was because I wanted to make sure that my lines flowed properly. You'll see right here, this little inset on the side, why it is so important to have your lines flow properly. I spent way more time on this because I did not have my lines, my geometry lines flow properly, and I ended up having to redo a bunch of my work because I realized that I messed something up. Now, I'm not proud of this little area right here. It ended up looking okay, but the geometry is not as clean as I would like it to be. I'm kind of a nut job when it comes to clean geometry. So this little area is always kind of hurt a little bit. So, but next time I will know how to fix it and keep it looking good. You'll see earlier on when I was creating the very base of the helmet, I started out with a mirror modifier. It's really easy to get a deformed mesh not the way you want it when dealing with circles or spheres in a subdivision, or a mirror modifier rather, because when you scale the sphere, if your scaling point is set to the center of geometry, it will not be the center of the sphere as normally, because you're only scaling half of the sphere. So it is easy sometimes to forget about that, and then you end up having an issue with the scale of your sphere because you're only scaling half the sphere at a time, and it's mirroring it on the other side. So the way around this is to select the center of your geometry. So just tab out of edit mode, hit Shift S, cursor to selected of your actual object. Tab back into edit mode, select your point of rotation or scaling to the 3D cursor, and you will have it be just like you were scaling the object in object mode. And this is the best way to get around with using a mirror modifier in spheres. You'll see me again here struggle with the getting the insets to work properly. I thought I had it figured out on the other side, but this turned out to be different geometry and a completely different problem. So I had to rework it several times. Here I really struggled with this because not only is it a compound curve, but now you're adding a inset and extrude that is a curve too. So not only were you working on a curve, but now you've got a cut that's a curve. So what I ended up doing was, instead of relying solely on the subdivision surface modifier for my curves, I ended up modeling the curves and then sharpening the edges and then letting the subdivision surface take care of the slight beveling instead of actually curving the mesh. Because it is easy to sometimes get carried away with the subdivision surface modifier and let it do more work than it should. So with that, my helmet is almost done. I was a little bit stickily on making sure that the interior looked good, even though I knew that I was going to put a head in it. So I'm almost to the point where I will be moving on, but I couldn't help myself. I had to throw an HDR image back there and put some materials on it. So thank you for watching, and we'll move on to the next part.